Welcome to Barbecue Today. I'm your host, Derek Riches. Today, we're going to be talking about the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco Drum Smoker. The Oklahoma Joe's Bronco Smoker actually gets its start with the Charbroil Commander Kamado charcoal grill. Charbroil, of course, the parent company of Oklahoma Joe's, came out with that unit several years ago as a low-cost Kamado grill. We see a lot of the design features that were in that grill in this drum smoker. Most notably, this snorkel vent. It runs down the side to the center of the drum at the bottom. It allows you to adjust the intake without ever having to bend over. Of course, the outtake vent is at the top here. But similarities don't actually end there. In many ways, this drum smoker isn't like others. It's a lot more like a Kamado grill. Most drum smokers are just a metal tube. They have an intake vent at the bottom, a charcoal basket, and then a mechanism for holding your food in place at the top. Sometimes for hanging food or a cooking grate. This will actually do both. So let's look inside and see what we have in here. This is a basic drum, except it comes in two sections, which is not ideal. I've noticed that grease can drip through from one section to the other and run down the side of the exterior. At the very center in the bottom is the air intake. So into our drum goes this metal ring, which is basically a spacer. Setting over that, we have an ash basket, which collects all the ashes, of course. Over that sits our charcoal basket. Now, my charcoal basket still has charcoal in it from the last time I cooked. This is a good indicator. What it tells us is that by closing the vents, I can shut down the airflow so efficiently that the fire will go out and I can reserve charcoal from one cook to the next. Makes it efficient, helps reduce your costs. Now, sitting over top of that is this diffuser plate. It sits between the two sections of the drum. The problem with it is it doesn't quite fit right, at least not on the unit that I have. Now, if we wanted to hang food, we would insert one of these metal rods so we can hang hooks on this. There are 3 of these rods. They fit into these sections here. It gets a little crowded. They lock in place, which is a nice feature, so they don't move around when you're trying to put food on them. You can align them to give you the maximum amount of space. This unit also comes with a poultry hook, which sits on this rod, and you can hang a whole turkey or chicken directly down in the smoker and cook it that way. It is a little awkward. You have to lift the whole unit out to kind of get it off of there, which is only a problem when it's really hot, which, well, it's going to be. Finally, we have a pretty standard cooking grate. So we can cook directly on this. Great for pork butts, briskets, anything that you don't necessarily want to hang. I think that most people are going to use the cooking grate unless they're trying to cook a lot of racks of ribs. So let's fire this up and see how it works. So the Oklahoma Joe's is all heated up. running at a temperature about 250 degrees. This is pretty reliable, actually. I've adjusted the vents to hold that temperature, and we're ready to go. I'm going to throw a pork butt on here and just make up some nice Carolina barbecue. The Oklahoma Joe's is all metal, which is very good. Charbroil has a propensity for relying on a lot of plastic. This is plastic here. It's got a rubber handle. Of course, the temperature gauge is plastic and glass and metal. And this is a little plastic nameplate. But other than that, everything on it is metal, from the wheels to the vents to every part of it, including the little side table here. The construction is solid. It's actually put together quite well. This is a good little smoker. The question that we want to ask about this smoker is, how does it compare to the pit barrel? They're both about the same price. The pit barrel cooker is kind of a fan favorite. It's a simple device. It's what barrel cookers usually are. It has a charcoal firebox in the bottom, and it's got a couple of bars for hanging ribs on. It does come with a cooking rack, so you can even grill on it if you want. You can grill on this as well. They're both pretty competent at grilling. Our diffuser plate sits about here, and our cooking grate is about here. And if we put the bars in to hang things from, they'd be about here. It's not a lot of space. We can take the diffuser plate out, and we'd have a little bit more room for hanging ribs. But the pit barrel's vertical height for cooking is twice as much. So you get a lot more functionality that way. Like I said, with the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco, most people I think are going to be cooking on the grate, not on the hanging racks. With the pit barrel, well, that's more about hanging foods, which is a traditional style of cooking barbecue, and it works really well. The Oklahoma Joe's is made in China. The pit barrel is made in the United States, if that's a factor in your decision. This has vents. You can control the temperature. You can adjust it where you want. A little bit of practice, you get quite good at it. This temperature gauge goes up to 550. You'd have to build quite the fire to get it there. The pit barrel, it doesn't have vents. There's a little vent down in the bottom. That's not for temperature, it's for altitude. The pit barrel runs at the same temperature pretty much no matter what you're doing with it. You don't adjust for temperature. It cooks at one temperature and it stays that way. But it works really well. This also works quite well. If you want to be able to control temperatures, then you might want to go with the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco. They're the same price, like I said. So the decision is really up to you. This is a good unit though, and I would recommend it. I'm going to put a link down below where you can read my full review on the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco barrel cooker, as well as a link to where you can buy one if you want. It comes in many parts, and assembly takes a bit of time, but it's not rocket science, so I think pretty much anyone can get through it. And all of the manufacturing problems that they had with the initial runs seem to have been taken care of. So you can count on it working, and you can count on getting what you need when it gets shipped to you. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to learn more about barbecue and grilling today, hit the subscribe button, because I will be back with more.